WT was my first choice. It was the only choice. I've been affiliated with WT since 1974 as a student, and then began employment also as a student before I graduated in 1977. And then upon graduation was employed full-time and continued employment until 2013.
I came to WT in 1992. And I met Gary shortly after that. At first meeting, I was very impressed with him. He was calm, he was very, very knowledgeable, he was creative, and he got along well with everyone. And I depended heavily on Gary's advice. We managed to do some fairly successful things at WT during those years.
Gary just deeply cared about WT, deeply cared about our community. He's just kind, genuine, caring, and friendly. And whenever people like that are successful, the whole grandstand cheers.
So the CFO of the Texas Tech University system, Gary Barnes, the entire time that he was here, always had a buffalo in his office. That will tell you about his love for WT.
As a student, I was in two fraternities, Alpha Kappa Psi, the business fraternity, and Kappa Kappa Psi, the band fraternity. I lived in Jarrett Hall. That was the first year in Jarrett Hall that you didn't have to wear beanies as a freshman. But you did have slime meetings, and we had mixers on the weekends with the female residence halls. It was a lot of fun. The education that I had at WT was second to none. All those skills, all those things I learned really helped me throughout my whole career, from the various areas, including band, including English, including business, really gave me that opportunity to excel. So that's a very interesting story about Cindy and I meeting. We did meet at WT. Although we graduated in the same year in 1978, we did not know each other. Every payday, everyone physically came to the business office and you got your check and you signed that we handed you your check. Cindy was in the habit, she would mail her check to put it in the credit union. I think that her mother called her and said, "When are you going to send your paycheck? Because I'm covering overdraft checks now." Check was lost in the mail. So for her to get a replacement, she had to make an appointment with me.
Well, you know, I was concerned about going in to speak to anyone in the business office, right? Anyway, he was very kind to me. I was a blubbering idiot, and he assured me that it really wasn't a problem. We were friends for a very long time. He hung out and we ate dinners together and we went to movies together. I really thought he was interested in my roommate till we went to a football game at University of Texas. So we were on the famous Southwest Airlines flight where you're cheek to cheek. And Gary looked over and said, "Is there a chance there's more to our relationship than just being friends?"
Gary was here as a student, committed to us. And then he goes to work right away after he graduates.
You know, I started working there as a student. Bitsy Downing hired me in the business office. So Bitsy said, "You know, I would like to offer you a full-time job upon graduation." So even before I graduated in the spring semester, I knew I had a full-time job. There's really not a lot of employment opportunities as a bass clarinet. But business was one of those things I knew I always wanted to do. I worked with 5 university presidents during my time at WT.
You know, there's some significant things that Gary did for WT. In the early 1990s, WT was having a financial crisis. There were many things that were going on financially that were going to lead to insolvency. Gary, in his brilliance, came up with a plan that saved us from the brink.
Well, when I came to WT, there was a little less than $1,000 in reserve. And when I left, we had well over 30 million. And that was largely because Gary and I worked so well together.
I worked with Dr. Long in putting together some financial plans that we could get the university headed the right direction. I think we did that. We accomplished that. We accomplished that fairly quickly. And he gave me some latitude to do some things that hadn't been done before. Also, we began a very robust building renovation project at the university.
All the landscaping that we see around, it was in his master plan for construction. He built 3 residence halls. He built the event center. He was instrumental in getting the fine arts complex put together.
The pedestrian mall, I worked very closely with the sculptor who did the buffalo. I worked with the Haywoods on the clock tower. We were able to secure additional funding from the state to renovate the classroom center. Part of that was the JBK that was included with that renovation in the bookstore.
Just the vision of what can WT be, and the vision was we need to push parking out, let's bring beauty in. And so bringing the beauty into our campus and making it an oasis is what we have now. Whenever we're looking at that beauty, we're looking into the heart of Gary Barnes. That was his dream.
We didn't waste money, and he saw to it that things grew and were healthy and profitable, and it worked extremely well.
Probably about $450 million of new construction and renovation.
Y'all, we go from almost being bankrupt to having what he was able to pull off in a brief amount of time is just amazing. I would say that it moved us from being just a college that was scraping by to one that is flourishing now. So not only did he influence what was happening at WT, he influenced what was happening in all of higher ed. And that's what led people to see his genius at Texas A&M, and they recruited him to leave. And let me tell you, I talked with Gary. That was hard for him to leave.
Whenever our oldest son began his freshman year in high school, they called and said, listen, we'd like for you to come to the A&M system. I thanked them very much and said, no, we're going to stay here. So a few years later, they called again and said, you know, we have this new position. I said, you know, this is not the right time for the family to do that. So both kids graduate high school. Both of them are in college, and so they needed some help. Their president had just left. So Cindy and I talked about it and said, you know, I think this may be the opportunity and the time, and maybe we've been called to do this. So I accepted the position of Associate Vice President for Finance and Administration and Controller at A&M University.
He patiently waited for the opportunity to come again. And change was hard as he moved up and was given that opportunity, and we embraced it. I'd already sold my soul, I think, at that point, so away we went. The hard part was we both were raised in West Texas and in the Panhandle.
So I made another change, talked to Cindy, and I said, you know, this is a way we can move a little closer back home. And she didn't hesitate very much to say, I'll help you get your resume updated. So I sent that in, and Chancellor Duncan did select me as Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer for the Texas Tech University system.
The thing that got Gary to the Texas Tech University system was its proximity to WT.
I was thrilled to be closer to Canyon.
I think that he and Cindy, WT was always first, and I suspect it always will be.
We will always, always be true Buffaloes. I will always be grateful for the opportunity given to me through the education I received there. It wasn't a job for Gary or I, either one. We were given an opportunity as a first-generation student to go to college and to pursue our goals, whatever that was. And so for us, it was a passion and a privilege to be able to stay at WT and continue to work at WT and to make a difference for others.
If you look for somebody that is the perfect representation of what a West Texas individual should be, it'd be Gary Barnes. And I say West Texas is in the region, but also West Texas A&M.
And for a WT alum to have said that they made a significant impact at a regional university and 2 Tier 1 colleges in probably one of the most demanding departments and fields that you can do, because how talented he is and because of the experience and exposure that he got here at WT.
I'm so pleased that he is getting this award. I think it's an honor that is well deserved.
It is really special to me to see someone who's worked as hard for as long as Gary has. Anytime you see a really good person recognized by their peers that they thought were the greatest folks, it's really special in a way that I can't describe. So it's a joy and a privilege to stand beside him and look back at a really, really wonderful career.
I'm very honored, I'm very humbled. You know, none of these things I did on my own. I had a great team, I had a lot of support, a lot of people had confidence in me, a lot of people let me do some things that hadn't been done before. So it's just a real honor and a privilege to be recognized this way, but it certainly wasn't something that I did all by myself. There was a whole team behind that.